Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I'm excited to introduce our presentation titled The Dating Double Standard. In this session, we'll explore the psychology behind the shocks people experience in modern dating, how standards have become distorted, and how the shift toward equal treatment is uncovering some uncomfortable truths. We'll also look at how men are starting to push back, not aggressively, but by matching the energy they receive and applying the same scrutiny. This reveals a deep cultural imbalance. We'll discuss how expectations in dating are louder, bolder, and more contradictory than ever before, with women confidently setting high standards and still criticizing men for doing the same. So, let's dive in and understand what's really happening beneath the surface. Modern dating has really shaped a culture where some women expect privilege and call it equality. It's interesting, these double standards are no longer subtle. They've become structural, embedded in how we interact. What I see consistently is a pattern. Outwardly, there's harsh judgment, but inwardly, there's hypersensitivity. For example, a woman might say men are stupid, but then become emotionally overwhelmed when you point out negative trends among women, like higher rates of homelessness, imprisonment, or dropping out of school. It's almost as if there's a disconnect, demanding equality, but reacting defensively when it's questioned. Then there are claims about what they need in a partner. She might say she wants a man earning 6 figures, but when you ask what she brings to a high-value relationship, she might get offended. Or she might say she won't date a man under 6 feet tall, but if you say you wouldn't date someone over 140 pounds, suddenly it's body shamming. Many modern women preach equality until it's time to apply it to themselves. This brings us to the core idea, the equality paradox, where women want equal power but don't want to be held accountable equally. It's a complex dynamic that really ties into the overall theme of how modern relationships are evolving. So, what we're seeing here is that this kind of misunderstanding actually fuels entitlement, misjudgment, and emotional chaos. It's important to distinguish between male sexual attention and female romantic value. Men, for example, will sleep with almost any woman they find moderately attractive. But that doesn't mean they want to date her, or see her as high value, or even like her that much. It's a common misconception that sexual interest equals romantic interest or worth. Now, here's the critical part many people miss. It's not entirely their fault. Social media plays a huge role in distorting how we perceive value. It turns attention into a kind of addictive drug and likes into a form of currency. Women with normal flaws might reject good men because they think they're not enough, while women with minimal accomplishments demand elite partners. Meanwhile, women who are objectively average can start believing they're exceptional because of all the validation they receive online. And this leads to some interesting consequences. A simple selfie can get hundreds of likes, and a dating profile might attract dozens of matches overnight. This thirst for validation inflates self-perception, sometimes to an unrealistic degree. Never before in history have average women received so much attention, and that's part of the delusion created by social media. It's like a delusion machine that overestimates self-worth and distorts reality, which then impacts how everyone perceives themselves and others. Modern women often want to live like men sexually, but at the same time, they want to be treated like romantic princesses. Now, biology doesn't really reward that combination. It's important to recognize that simply acknowledging this fact can be seen as misogynistic, which shows how sensitive the topic has become. Meanwhile, the evidence is pretty clear. A higher body count tends to reduce a woman's ability to form strong pair bonds. And no, this isn't about morality. It's rooted in neuroscience. Many women tend to blame their partners for their own infidelity, saying things like, "He wasn't meeting my emotional needs," or "He made me feel insecure." But accountability is often missing in these stories. What's even more striking is how if a man even likes another woman's picture, he's labeled a monster. But women can casually admit to cheating, keep backup men, flirt with friends to keep him on his toes, and brag about talking to multiple guys at once. It's clear that modern culture celebrates female promiscuity while shamming male selectiveness. This creates a sexual double standard that women have, intentionally or not, set up, and one they often can't escape from. What we're seeing here is a clear distinction between genuine partnership and what's often mistaken for one. This slide highlights that sometimes what appears to be a relationship is actually just entitlement hidden behind a facade of self-worth. Take a woman who was unemployed, overweight, living with her parents, and offering nothing beyond demands. She's not contributing, just expecting. Now contrast that with someone who is considered successful, romantic, fit, owning property, driving a luxury car, earning over $100,000 a year, and standing tall at 6'2". One man even shared a woman's dating requirements, which boiled down to expecting a lot: financial investment, emotional labor, constant attention, gifts, luxury travel, and expensive dates, all in exchange for simply her presence. The troubling part is that it's become quite normalized for some women to expect this level of entitlement, extreme demands with minimal contributions. This growing trend we call the entitlement epidemic reflects a shift where expectations far outpace what's being given in return. It's important to recognize this dynamic because it impacts relationships, self-worth, and how we define mutual respect and effort. This slide underscores a critical point in understanding the changing landscape of modern partnerships. This isn't equality, folks. It's one-way moral superiority. We see a pattern where certain behaviors are judged harshly in women, while similar actions in men are either excused or even praised. For example, when a man cheats, the reason often given is she wasn't getting enough attention, as if that justifies betrayal. But if a woman cheats, the narrative shifts to labels like insecure or controlling, suggesting she's the problem. Then we have standards. When a woman is considered a sex-positive queen, it's celebrated. But if her body count is high, she's judged and criticized with comments like, "He let himself go." Conversely, when a man gains 20 pounds, it's often seen as him just wanting to be loved for who he is. When a woman gains 50 pounds, it's seen as a failure to maintain her attractiveness. We see this pattern everywhere, this double standard that underpins what we call the "love me as I am" culture. It's a culture that claims to promote acceptance, but in reality, it applies different rules depending on gender. It exposes the hypocrisy behind the idea that everyone should be loved exactly as they are, while silently judging and policing women more harshly. It's a clear reflection of the broader inequality that persists in how we view and judge gender behaviors and standards. This slide highlights a critical point about what we often see as strength. What appears to be confidence or empowerment can sometimes actually be fragility in disguise. It's like a mask that hides vulnerability. These individuals can dish out criticism or hostility endlessly, but when it's their turn to receive similar energy, suddenly it's about harassment, misogyny, or emotional abuse. And here's the interesting part. When men respond with data, questions, or even mild critique, the narrative shifts completely. Instead of engaging in constructive dialogue, we hear phrases like "toxic masculinity is everywhere," or "men are useless," or even more extreme, "all men are potential predators," and "men are trash." It's important to recognize that many modern women proudly insult men in this way, which reveals a deeper issue. This isn't just about individual opinions, it's about a fragile sense of identity that's threatened when challenged. Ultimately, what we're seeing is a kind of fragility behind these aggressive postures, an underlying insecurity that fuels the hostility. Understanding this helps us see beyond the surface and get to the core of these societal dynamics. Partnership isn't just about being present or entitled, it's about a real value exchange. It's about giving and receiving, supporting each other's growth. Now, when we look at what's left in the modern dating landscape, it often feels like a personality shaped by memes, wine, and therapy jargon. Some women might even proudly say, "I don't cook, don't clean, don't want kids, don't like sex after marriage." But here's the thing: masculine men, the high-value ones, they don't marry chaos. They seek stability, responsibility, someone who's grounded. And yet, many women wonder why these men aren't committing. Well, it's because of behaviors like zero emotional regulation, a lack of domestic skills, avoiding hygiene, hookup culture, drug use, heavy drinking. These aren't traits that attract or retain high-value partners. What's really concerning is that a disturbing number of young women are normalizing this whole collapse of responsibility. We're seeing the rise of reckless behavior, a move away from accountability, which directly impacts the foundation of meaningful relationships. This shift isn't just about individual choices, it's about what it signals for the future of partnership and stability. If we want genuine connection and commitment, we need to understand that value exchange is key: respect, responsibility, and maturity. The ideology that promised liberation actually delivered loneliness. Many women now find that their fertility windows are closing, and their ability to form strong pair bonds has been damaged. The men they desire are often dating women 10 years younger, making it even harder to build lasting relationships. I recently spoke to a 42-year-old woman who admitted she spent her 20s and 30s finding herself, only to realize too late that she truly wanted a family. It's a stark reminder that the dream many were sold, one that works well for men, doesn't always align with women's realities. Now, countless women in their 30s and 40s are waking up to a brutal truth. They followed this script faithfully. They believed they could get married anytime, find themselves later, and that independence and casual sex would bring happiness. They delayed starting a family, focused on their careers, thinking they could have it all. But after 2 decades of being told that you don't need men, many women realize that this so-called feminist lie is flawed. The truth is, many women now see that they do need men, especially when it's too late to have children easily. This is a critical turning point and ties into the larger theme of how societal messages have shaped women's choices, sometimes at a high cost. Women must reclaim accountability, and men must reclaim standards. But at the core, both sides need to remember that partnership is built on real value, genuine respect, and reciprocity, not entitlement or unrealistic fantasies. For modern relationships to truly heal, both men and women have to face some uncomfortable truths. And the truth is simple: equality means equality, every part of it, even the uncomfortable parts. Men are no longer playing the old game where expectations were skewed or where privilege was mistaken for equality. We're seeing a shift. Women are matching energy instead of overgiving, refusing emotional manipulation, and choosing standards that serve them. They're nomming double standards when they see them, and they're holding boundaries that protect their well-being. What's really happening isn't that women are shocked because men are suddenly cruel. No, they're shocked because men are finally being honest about the reality, about what equality really looks like today. And the big takeaway here is that the shock isn't about men's behavior. It's about the return of reality. It's about recognizing what true equality means in a modern context and understanding that this shift is necessary for genuine partnership and growth.